Good morning, everyone. We're so excited you were able to join us today. I know you had to take time out of your busy schedules, and we appreciate that so much. I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself right away, and then Anna will introduce herself, and then we'll get right rolling with these questions. So we're very excited for today. My name is Ben Leonard. I'm currently serving as the Minnesota FFA State President, originally from Staples Motley FFA chapter, and currently in my dorm room here at the University of Minnesota Crookston studying egg business and agronomy.
Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Anna Early, and I'm currently serving as the Minnesota FFA State Reporter. I'm coming to you from my family home in Litchfield, Minnesota, and I'm currently studying at Ridgewater College in Wilmer, majoring in agribusiness with a dairy emphasis. So we will get right out into our first question, which is please introduce yourself, your job title, and your company, and a little bit about what you do there.
Well, I guess I'll start then. My name is Colette, and I work at Bremer Bank. I head up talent, diversity, equity, and inclusion. I've been there for about 4 years, and just kind of a bunch of things brought me here, but I really love helping people think about the things that they're passionate about and finding a way in the organization to kind of align it so that we can do business. And so that's what I get to do every day.
Sounds good. I can jump in next. I'm Mark Schober with Bremer Bank. I'm Director of Specialized Agriculture Solutions, which is really just anything new in the world of ag, trying to position the bank to be a progressive agriculture financial institution 5 to 10 years from now, making the right decisions today to do so. I'm originally from southeastern Wisconsin and did my undergrad at University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire and worked for a agriculture asset management company out of the Twin Cities for a few years and got my MBA from University of Minnesota, where I then landed here at Bremer, based out of the Twin Cities.
And I'm Kim Newman. I am a loan officer with Ag Country Farm Credit. I started my career with Farm Service Agency, and then I moved to another farm credit, which is Pro Partners Financials, before I started as a loan officer here with Ag Country. Got my undergrad at North Dakota State University in agribusiness and a minor in accounting. And my husband and I currently live on his family farm outside of Wabasso, Minnesota.
Very cool. It sounds like we got a great group of individuals here with a diverse background and some great careers. So to get started, what led you to this career? Maybe some experiences you had in college, high school, or other experiences along the way that led you to where you are now. Colette, if you want to start, that'd be awesome.
Sure. Well, so I may be the oldest one here, but I'm in my 40s. And so my background, you know, when you're 17 or 18, kind of coming out of high school, don't really know what you're supposed to be doing. And so I actually started out my college education in going to Bible college because it was just something I was really interested in. Then eventually got went back to school and did a business degree, and then started working in human resources, and that led me to do some more work. Went back to graduate school and did some additional work and also law school. And so a combination of just my education and experiences really allowed me to, you know, be doing what I am right now. So one thing that I didn't say in the introduction at the beginning is that I'm from Canada, and my background, my parents are Jamaican and we both grew up on farms, and so, you know, working for Bremer Bank, which is an ag and commercial bank, just kind of allowed me to bring both some personal passions that I had, along with just accumulative of experience into the role that I get to do today. And so for all of you who are thinking about what's next, know that whatever it is you do is just going to maybe open up a door for what's next for you. And so sometimes that thought is really daunting about like, how is this college degree going to help me do what I'm ultimately want? Well, it's one step at a time, and it's one job at a time that'll open up doors for the next thing. So.
And I grew up on a farm outside of Kirkhoven, Minnesota, was involved in 4-H, FFA. My junior year of high school, I took out a youth loan through the FSA program to purchase a herd of belted Galloways with my siblings. And ever since then, that's what I knew I wanted to become, a loan officer. Where I could provide those same services to farmers, especially the youth. So like I mentioned earlier, I majored in agribusiness and with a minor in accounting. And then I did an internship with FSA. So I just kind of took my love of both agriculture and business, and that's where I got landed here today as a loan officer.
That's awesome. Like I said before, I grew up in southeastern Wisconsin. My parents had a small farm that I grew up on, and we just leased the land out to the neighbor, who maybe ran a couple thousand acres in this area. And I swear I pestered him a lot more often than he would have liked. I'd go over there all the time just to see his machines because my parents did not have anything of that size. So I grew up with a corn, soybean, or alfalfa field every year in my front yard. Although my parents didn't farm anything besides a couple acres of pumpkins, which I think were maybe the most backbreaking crop ever. But throughout high school, I actually was an anomaly for my area, that I was not involved with or heavily involved with FFA or 4-H. In hindsight, I wish I would have been, because those organizations teach you much more than just agriculture aspects. They're amazing at career development as well, as you guys know. But that led me to my undergrad at Eau Claire, and I studied business management. I just loved. Originally, I wanted to be an entrepreneur of some sort. I think throughout high school, I had many businesses of a car wash business I created, and all these little things that didn't really go anywhere. But I knew I had a passion for it, so that's what I went to school essentially for, and was presented with an opportunity to get into agriculture and investing in agriculture, and really realized, that was ingrained in me from an early phase of life, and quickly realized I want to be involved with agriculture in some way, shape, or form in my career, as I love the people that are involved in ag. I love farmers. I love ranchers. I really think that it's a unique sector that has still a lot of relationship and passion built into it, and ultimately it will probably be one of the last sectors to lose that. You still have a strong relationship with your banker. I'm sure Kim can attest to that, and your agronomist, like Ben was talking about. I mean, you still have these strong relationships, and I just want to stay involved with that.
Awesome. So now our next question is, what does a typical day look for you guys in your careers?
Well, every day is different. So as the person who kind of heads up talent, I've got a team of other folks that are helping connect with our managers who are looking for talent. And so at Bremer, we're a bank, but we also run the gamut of financial services. And so anywhere from insurance to wealth management to mortgages, etc. And so so it's a lot of talking with people, helping them think about their current existing team and what maybe a new role would add to their team. It's also kind of thinking outside the box. So even as all of you are preparing for the workforce is continually changing. And so Another thing that I don't think I said in my introduction is I was in higher education for 15 years. So I was a professor, both at, like, I worked at a technical college, worked in, higher ed to do BAs, and also taught in graduate school. And so anytime I would teach, I would tell my students that, the things that you're thinking of preparing for today are probably going to change by the time you leave. And so the same thing is true in the workforce and in an ag and commercial bank. The roles that we have continue to evolve. And we need different people. So recently I was looking for somebody in crop insurance, and so that's kind of an interesting field. And most people don't go to school and say, I want to sell insurance and I want to sell crop insurance. But we're looking for talent of people who can kind of understand the industry and maybe even gain the skills to do it. And so every day I get to work with people to problem solve and to think about how do they find people to do the work and to work in existing teams. Every day is different. Some days are really challenging and some days they're just really interesting. It's a lot of learning. And so even for some of you, you might not be thinking HR is your thing, but if you like people and you like solving problems and you're really passionate about the ag industry and business, HR might be the thing.
And I always start my day thinking with my list of this is what I need to do. And then when I get into it, you get phone calls from customers, you get interrupted with other employees asking questions. So that list kind of goes out the window, but you kind of just have to be flexible with it. My typical day looks, I'm looking at financials, analyzing customers' financials for a loan request. I'm answering questions, either if customers drop into the office or if they call me on my phone, looking for different opportunities for my customers. And then I also am learning myself because we offer taxes, crop insurance, succession and retirement planning. And so learning those products to be able to service my customers.
Yeah, just like the other two, my days vary from extremes every single day. But two of the major things I work on are I work a lot with our innovation department, and anything that overlaps into agriculture innovation, I'm deeply involved with. So I spend a portion of my day evaluating different ag tech solutions that can better our customer base, and that can take a long time. So I need to be on the forefront of understanding what, for example, green nitrogen is, and how could that help. How could a company that that has a bacteria that creates green nitrogen benefit farmers in the Red River Valley, for example? So a portion of my day is to stay up to speed on things like that and to talk with those companies, and then try to really create a way to get that type of solution into our customers' hands, which can be a challenge. You start small and get it on a few farms and see if it works, and if it works there, start to get it on a few more, and then potentially roll it out to market on a much larger scale. So I work heavily in the innovation and ag tech space, and then I also get to engage with any of our current customers, farmers and ranchers and agribusinesses, and get brought in with our relationship managers or bankers, and kind of be able to provide another angle of thought on their business. Is there a way that they can extract additional revenue or cut costs somewhere, or maybe they just want to pick my brain on my experience, and I can help kind of provide that overarching ag thought leadership for our customers as well. So it varies a lot.
Yeah, sounds like it, and it seems to go for many careers, and just being adaptable to many situations, and providing those resources to those customers is really important in those agriculturists. So, as you look in your typical day and in your career, what do you see as the more valuable talents and skills that maybe you possess or you think that your career needs, as well as some of those that you look for in in employees as well, or those of your colleagues?
Oh, okay. That's a great question. Valuable skills. I think one is listening, just listening to understand, and so that you can really solve. Sometimes, and all of us are busy and have so many things going on, but I think listening is kind of an underrated thing. My mother always told me, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, but oftentimes we want to talk more than we listen. And so I think that's a really important skill. I also think communication in writing, and as you're in college, sometimes these papers and assignments, and you're like, oh man, do I have to do it? But I really believe that communication and being able to communicate in written form is so important. You probably right now text a ton and maybe email a ton, but good writing is, and you only get good at writing when you do more writing. And so I think that is a skill that sometimes we complain about, or it's really hard, but those papers, those things that you're doing, they will pay off. Get good at writing, because that's how you communicate with people, whether it's social media, how they see you in LinkedIn, when you're doing inquiries about a job or opportunities. Really, really pay attention to writing. Very, very important. And I think the last thing I would say is public speaking and figuring out how to articulate your message in brevity so that it's brief and to the point, and that it's engaging and that makes people curious and interested. Those are things that I think talents and skills that are really important.
I would have to agree with Colette on the listening piece. In my job, you really have to listen to your customers and what their needs are. So definitely listening instead of talking more. But then also just being detailed oriented, organized, because when you're writing up loans, you got to make sure that your standards are met and you've got enough collateral, and just that you have a complete package when you're working on loans. And like I mentioned earlier, being flexible with your job. You may come into the office with a list of things to do, but customers may want to stop in and talk to you about something or call you on the phone, and then your schedule kind of gets off track. So just being flexible.
Yeah, going third here, I can say I agree with everything that Kim and Colette have said so far. Just from a higher sense, I'd say one of my best talents is really just being relationship driven, which includes absolutely being a good listener and being able to be detail oriented with the communications, going back and forth with whoever your customer is. No matter what career you have, you're going to have customers, if they're internal or external. And to piggyback on an example Colette laid out on being a good writer, that's something that I think is potentially even being overlooked. I can't agree more, and I can raise my hand and wholeheartedly admit that through my really education career, I did not like writing at all. and I think there are some college classes that I specifically took to become a better writer. And it really did help me just from a class standpoint. And eventually in my career, I've written a lot of articles on agriculture, and I would have never imagined it, but I've written a couple books on agriculture, and it really does. Writing is a very overlooked, important talent, and also someone touched on it, but being concise and to the point, and I mean, emails or text messages or anything like that, it's valid and it's true.
Well, for the sake of our listeners, if you weren't taking notes, I hope you were right then, because that is some really important information that was just shared. That'll kind of segue into our next question of what pieces of advice can you give to our high school students watching today that you found the most valuable to help you start your career? whether that be organizations or connections you have, networking with peers from college, talents and skills gained, or anything of the sorts?
Okay, great question, Anna. I think really stay curious, figure out how you can add value to whatever it is you're a part of, whether it's another person or the group that you're in. And the more you can, the more you're learning about other things, and stretch yourself. So, and what I mean by that is maybe even find things that wouldn't be the things that you gravitate to. So if any of you watch Netflix or Hulu, it starts to give you things that here's what we recommend. Well, go outside of what they recommend so that you can stretch your horizons and what you're thinking about. And what I mean by that is, like, you know, I read and I listen a lot to podcasts or just different, you know, try to change my Google things so that they give me different things. And so, like, I'm reading a book right now, How to Think Like a Rocket Scientist, because I'm not a rocket scientist. And so, you know, it's not something I would want to do self-help or something. And so just trying to expand your horizons. I think that that's really, really important. How do you continue to grow and to learn? If you feel like you're at a point where you know everything about your industry or career, that you've arrived, then that's not the right, you've got more to learn and more to grow. So that's what I would add.
I really like this question, and I wish I got this piece of advice when I was going through high school and college. But you know, you are assigned certain classes in high school and college that you may not think that pertains to your career that you want to do, but you'd be surprised on how it actually pertains. For an example, in college, I had a class where we learned legal descriptions and plat maps and soil maps. And I'm thinking, as a loan officer, how does this pertain to my career? But as I, you know, during my internship and during my first few years of, you know, working with FSA, I quickly learned that, yep, it was valuable information. So I guess my advice to college students or even high school students is, if you're taking a class and you don't think that pertains to your career, you know, reach out to someone in that career and ask how it will help you when you finally get into a job.
That's really good advice. I'm taking notes here too. I think, you know, if I were to take a stab at this, really education overall is really just preparing you to learn from a basis. And at that front, to what Colette said, you really want to spread yourself as wide as possible. I would recommend joining organizations that you never thought you would have interest in. At the very least, you might meet a new good friend at an organization like that, which ultimately gets to the power of networking. You want to know as many people as possible. But you know, if you were to take a step out and look at your career, if you had the ability to forward look and say, you know, at the age of 60, did you know that you wanted to specialize in what you did at the age of 18? The answer is absolutely not. And I'm sure that your 60-year-old self would have just told you, try to build as strong of a base, a well-rounded base as you can. And I think that's the single bit of advice that I would give, is try to be as well-rounded as possible. You will not become an expert in an industry for decades past when you graduate high school. So you need to build a foundation to get there.
Well, those are some great pieces of advice. I'm also taking notes over here, mental notes that I can use in my future. So we appreciate your time. We recognize that you guys are very individual and very busy individuals, and with very unique stories that tell the story of Agribusiness and its pathways. And I know the high school students listening out there are very appreciative of the facts and the advice that you gave today. So again, our sincere thank yous for being here and sharing some of your wisdom and knowledge with us.